Hello everyone. So let's discuss about POIs or point of interest in combat AI system. So point of interest means basically sort of a feature that commonly exists on like open world games and some third-person shooter games, things like that, to specify a certain area where the NPC characters exist and the player can interact with them within that specific area. For example, like a POI can be a military base, or it can be a shop, or a market, or maybe some sort of a crafting station, or it can be some sort of an ambush zone or town area, things like that, right? So most of the time in open world games, POIs used for the implement to like sort of patrolling features of the NPCs, interactions, maybe like hiding or like triggering specific events, or just exist to guide the players, right? So in the combat AI system, I added those features as well. For example, like we can set up a military base or like a town area by using those features, right? Basically you can construct any sort of a point of interest in your game. So we are going to discuss these topics. Basically we gonna see like what's a POI and how it can be implemented in your level, and what are the POI stations and POI spawners and POI entrances. So POI stations, spawners and entrances are basically like sort of components or like instance that used in a hierarchical fashion inside a specific POI. So if I explain briefly, a POI station is a specific area where the NPC resides, and the POI spawner is sort of a range where the NPCs can be spawned for that specific POI. The POI entrances are basically a place where it can be used to actually navigate NPCs to transit in between multiple different POIs, or even to enter for a specific POI. Right. So let's see how we can implement these features on Unreal Engine. So I just opened my sample project, which is the my project that I've been created before. So currently we have this NPC instance and these patrolling paths. So I don't need this stuff anymore. So I will remove them. Okay, now we have a fresh level. Again, make sure you have these three managers in your level, which is level manager, NPC manager, and TOD manager. Right. So if you look at the combat AI system directory, there is a specific folder called navigation, and there we have POIs. So let's open that thing. So there we have POI base and POI entrances and POI spawners, and outside of the POIs directory we have another dedicated directory called stations, right? Okay, so to get started with, I will place a POI base inside my level, right? So I can simply drag and drop it like this. So here you can see there are two different bounding box volumes. So we have like a inner bounding box and we have like a outer bounding box. So the inner bounding box is basically the area of the POI where the NPCs interact or NPCs spawn or whatever, and this outer bounding box is the area where it sends for the player, right? Sort of like a player proximity area. For example, like when it comes to the open world games, the NPCs are not spawned on the entire level at once, right? So they are being spawned dynamically whenever the player enter to that specific area. For example, let's say this is a town, and when the character enter to the town, then only the NPCs will be appeared on that specific area. And after the character get away from that specific area, those NPCs will be disappear, right? So these features will be useful when it comes to the optimizations of your game, because let's say if you have a massive level in your game, obviously if you spawn all the NPCs at once, then it's a performance overhead, right? Okay. So you can see like those configurations are there. Basically you can adjust the area scale based on your needs and the player trigger scale as you want, right? But for now I will keep the default settings as it is, and we'll see how it works. And since my player start is here, I will sort of move the POI outside of that player start, so even later on I can check how the player proximity works, right? Now so this is the POI base, and here you can see there is sort of list called entrance list, NPC spawner list, reserved NPC spawner list, station list, and reserved in station list. So these are the sort of components exist inside the POI, right? And let's go through them one by one. So first we have this entrance list, which means, as I mentioned before, it sort of marked an area where the NPC can enter to that specific POI, right? But currently in the as the initial release of the Combat AI system, we just added this entrance as a placeholder, because later on actually we are going to implement multiple different features based on that specific instance. For example, like we are planned to add sort of inter-POI transmissions of the NPCs, which means like an NPC can go from one POI to another. So in such scenarios, actually, we can use those entrances to navigate the locations or navigate the entering point of that specific point of interest. But currently that feature is not there, but we will release it in near future. But just for the testing, I will add one of the POI entrances. So you can go for the POI entrances directory, and inside the base we have this instance which is POI base. So you can see like it's sort of a placeholder for a door. So maybe this can be a door, it can be a gate, or it can be any sort of entrance, just to visualize it, right? And now once you add the entrance, select the POI, and you have to actually press this button, which is populate elements. So once you press this button, you will see automatically there will be a trace triggered by the POI to detect these elements, and here you can see it detects the entrance and populate this entrances list, right? So actually you can either manually pick actors from the scene by adding the elements one by one and do the stuff manually, or you can simply press this button, so it will automatically configure the stuffs for you, right? And I personally recommend to use this automatic populate element option, because sometimes if you try to add manually, maybe you can miss some of the elements in your scene. So in order to avoid such edge case scenarios, it's better to use the automated procedure, which is this button, right? So let's say if I add another entrance, maybe at here, and if I select the POI and press it again, you can see automatically it populates that element too, right? So those are the POI entrances. And then we can look at for a POI spawner, right? So for POI spawner, maybe like, let's say if you are implementing a military base, a bunker could be a POI spawner, which means a possible place where the NPCs can be spawned. But currently I'm not going to use this one. So since this is a demonstration, I will use the base spawner and we'll see how it works. So this is the spawner for POI. So you can actually drag and drop one of these spawners at the POI like this. And here you can actually configure the range also to control the range where the NPCs can be spawned. And there are some of the debug point as well. And this tag is specifically used for like to mark specific NPC spawner alongside the POI. So usually those POIs will be tagged as some unique name, and the POI will automatically detect it as a reserved spawn. So you can actually see if you click the POI, there are two lists. First one is NPC spawner list, and the other one is reserved NPC spawner list, right? So NPC spawner list by default will use by this POI to automatically spawn the NPCs within that specific spawner. And if it is a reserved NPC spawner list, then POI will not use that specific NPC spawner to spawn an NPC, right? Because it has been already reserved for some other custom task, right? So here you can see like I added this bunker base. So this bunker is sort of like a reserved station, right? So you can actually add that into a level as well just to test it. So here you can see it has been tagged as bunker. So it's a reserved station. So now if I click the POI and if I click this populate elements again, you can see both of this list has been populated. But if you check the NPC spawner list, this is that spawner that I've been mentioned before. And the reserved NPC is basically, NPC spawn is basically this BP bunker, because it has been already reserved by tagging it as a bunker. Okay. So just to explain it in a more simple fashion, I will remove this one for now. So sometimes it will give this warning because currently it has a reference, but that's fine. Let's simply click yes. And once you delete the instance from level, make sure to populate elements again. So it will simply reinitialize everything. Okay. So now you can see actually we don't have any reserved NPC spawner list. Okay. Now let's try to spawn an NPC inside this NPC spawn. So the way to do that is basically you have to initialize an NPC inside here, inside the POI NPC data structure, right? So here you can see like currently we haven't enabled the NPC POI spawns, so I will simply enable this one. And currently the NPC list is empty, so we can maybe add an NPC to there. So I will use maybe NPC base just for testing, and you can actually specify the NPC amount to be spawned, right? So for now I'll keep it as default, which is 1 2 3, and yeah. So now if I play it, you can see one NPC has been spawned on that specific point, right? And let's say if I maybe make the minimum amount to 2, then 2 NPCs or 2 or 3 NPCs can be appeared on the level, because it is actually a range, right? This is the minimum range, minimum amount, and this is the maximum amount. And let's say if I add multiple spawners inside the POI and populate it again, and let's say if I play, basically the NPC POI will detect, or POI will choose a random NPC spawner to be spawned. So here, like currently you can see they have been spawned in the same spawner, but maybe sometimes they can be spawned here as well. So just to visualize what's the NPC spawner that we are currently being spawned, I will open one of its spawners and select its cube and make this one not hidden in game, so it will be appear on the level. So here you can see now they have been chosen this NPC spawn. If I play it again, this time also they chose that one, right? So you can see actually sometimes they will choose this one, right? You can see right now they are choosing the first NPC spawn, right? So just a random selection if you add multiple different NPC spawners within your POI. Okay, and then we can check how the player proximity works, right? So this is the player proximity. Again, just for debugging purposes, I will open the POI and I will make visible the player trigger bounding box in the game. And yeah, so here you can see our player start is here. So if I cross this player proximity like this, then we should be able to spawn the NPCs inside the POI. But in order to do that, first you have to select the POI and you have to check this one to spawn the NPCs on the player proximity. So it will know when to spawn those NPCs. Right. And similarly, when you are leaving the area, if you wanted to destroy the spawned NPCs inside the POI, make sure to click this one, which is despawn NPCs on the player proximity. Right. Now let's play test and see how it works. So here you can see currently no NPCs has been spawned at the level because I am out of the player proximity of that specific POI. But if I cross that bound, you can see the NPCs has been appeared. And if I leave the bound, those NPCs disappear, right? Likewise, the player proximity based spawning can be happen like this for a specific POI. So this feature, as I said before, will be useful when you are developing or when you are creating open world games. So since you have very large levels with dynamic point of interest, it would be nice to have a player proximity based NPC spawns. Okay. Right. So that's the NPC spawners. And finally, we can add a station. So a station can be sort of like an element inside this POI. For example, if you're set up a military base, then a station can be a guard tower or maybe some campfire or things like that, right? So just for testing, I will add a base station of your to your level to your POI. So I can simply drag and drop an station element, add it here like this. And here also you can see like there are multiple different configurations. Like you can actually tweak these trigger scales as you wanted, and you can actually change these post skeletons and post reference names. So these are actually used to visualize what sort of a station this is. So for example, like maybe if an NPC is supposed to sit in this specific area. So for example, maybe let's say this is a chair or something like that. So maybe instead of having stand standing anime like this, maybe you can add sort of a sitting anime, right? Something like that. So these pause stuff is there to just to visualize what sort of a station this is, right? And then actually you can specify to spawn NPCs in this specific station, or either this POI can select a station dynamically and spawn at runtime, right? So just to play test, I will disable the POIs proximity based spawns. So by default it will spawn the NPCs directly, and if I select the station, let's configure its NPC list. So I will specify an NPC here. So maybe like in this station I will spawn again, I don't know, maybe an ally NPC, right? And make sure to toggle this one as well, which is spawn NPCs at station NPC location, right? And then select the POI and populate the elements. So if you look at the station list, you can see that the station has been populated at here, right? Right. Now if I play test, here you can see an ally has been spawned at the station. But here you can see like actually that ally is trying to kill other enemies inside that specific POI, because those are actually enemies. But anyway, that's how the station works. So you can add multiple different station at your POI based on your requirement, and the NPCs will basically appear on that specific location and do the stuff that need to be done, right? So these stations are quite useful when you are doing a level design for a specific area, right? So sometimes, like let's say when you are designing a marketplace or maybe a shop or something like that, then some NPCs should be appeared on a specific area, right? For example, the seller of that specific marketplace, or it can be a buyers on that specific marketplace. They should be appeared on a certain area, right? So in order to add those features, you can use these stations, right? Okay, so since we had two different stations, let's select the POI and repopulate it again. Now you can see actually the station has been populated back, right? So I can play test again. I can see the allies has been appeared on those stations. But actually you can add multiple different NPCs in these stations. For example, let's say in this station, instead of the NPC ally, I can add maybe NPC base. And if I play this again, you can see that enemy has been appeared on that specific station, okay? Maybe just for the debugging purposes, I will show this bound volume in the level and this one as well, right? You can see actually the station on the POI as well, right? Okay, right. And yeah, let's check the player proximity based spawns for these stations as well. So if I select the POI and enable the spawn and despawn on the player proximity, if I play now, you can see by default no one is appeared on the level. But if I just cross the player proximity, the NPC spawners will spawn the NPCs, plus the stations will spawn the required station NPCs. And if I leave the area, everyone will get destroyed. And if I come back, they will appear again. If I leave, they will disappear. Right? So again, this feature will greatly optimize the open world performance because it's spawns happening on runtime dynamically. Okay, right. So sometimes it can give this error because sometimes the character can be dead on the level, and at the very instantaneous time it can try to destroy the actor, right? So that's why this error triggers. Actually, we are aware of this issue, so we will fix this one and make a new release. So probably in a future release this error will be not appeared again. But even if it is appeared, it's not a big deal, it's just a minor issue, right? Okay, so those are the stations. And I think finally maybe I can show some of the reserved station as well. So this guard tower is sort of a reserved station. So here you can see like there is a guard tower operator and there is a searchlight. So I will discuss these instances later on when we are discussing like military base example and things like that. But just to show you what a reserve station be like, so this station has been tagged. You can see like it has been tagged as a guard tower. So similar to the NPC spawners, if you select the POI again and try to populate it again, you can see the guard tower is marked as a reserved station. So by default, the POI will not spawn a NPC at here based on the list specified on the specific POI. Right? For example, in this POI, we have specified the NPC base as the NPC list. So it will not use these classes to spawn element or spawn NPC from here. Instead, this guard tower by itself will spawn an NPC. Right? That's the logic. So maybe I can show how it works. So if I play test now, you can see there is a NPC has been appeared here. Right? So it is not being spawned by the POI. Right? Just appeared by itself because it's a reserved station. Right? And if I trigger the player proximity based spawn, you can see that guard tower will not spawn an NPC there. Right. Yeah, so I think those are the stuff that I want to discuss. And again, if you check the demo levels, I've added some of the examples to discuss these features. So you can go check out AI point of interest example. So this one's basically visualize the stuff that I just explained. So it has NPC spawners, stations, POI, things like that. And at the end, there is a demo level called military base example. So this is a complete example which all the features of the combat AI system, but basically this one is a point of interest, right? So you can load the level and see how we implemented it. So you can see like these guard towers are sort of stations, and there are like custom station like this, not the custom stations, like the default stations like this, and it has the NPC spawners. You can see like there is a pale, a transparent blue boxes are there, and here you can see like there is a large area that covers the entire level, which is the POI, right? So go check that example as well. But yeah, so those are the features that I need to cover when it comes to the POIs. And I'll see you there. Thank you.